Welcome to another edition of Talkin Sports. I'm Charlie DBAs. This is Jamie Lee, sports writers for the Staten Island Advance. This week we're talking Catholic high school girls basketball. And Jamie, St. Peter's girls, what can you say? This is a team that ended this year with 12 straight championships. There were a lot of question marks going into this year at St. Peter's. On Wednesday night, they won their 13th straight championship in a tiebreaker with a 60-53 victory over St. John Villa. Jamie, there's got to be some people that are surprised out there, but nonetheless, the Eagles are the Island champion once again.
Well, with all the constant expectations for St. Peter's girls basketball, winning 12 straight titles coming into this season and now winning their 13th, when they lost their first game to St. John Villa, you can say there was definitely disheartenment in Eagle Land, especially after the graduation of a senior lineup of 5 starters, 3 of them multiple Advance All-Stars, Megan Mahoney, Candice Bellaccio, and Kristen Connolly. There were big shoes to step into, but somehow Bob Daggett got his girls to get it together by the end of the year, and here they are again.
And I don't think there's any question that the St. Peter's girls, they have a lot of sophomores and a lot of freshmen on this year's team. They've grown up. They lost the first game to St. John Villa, 50-47, in which Nicole Capurso was, of course, the focal point of St. Peter's defense in those games. But Shapresa Laharovic hit a big shot at the end of the game to pull out the victory for St. John Villa. But ever since then, Jamie, I think it's been apparent that those young players on St. Peter's have grown up, and they have complemented nicely Laurencia Miller and Noelle Paulicki, who have stepped up and established themselves as the go-to players, which a lot of people, I think, thought would happen this year.
The growth of Paulicki and Miller has really helped the young Eagles. The first game against Villa, when they lost, nobody else really stepped up. It was Paulicki and Miller, and nobody else had more than 4 points. In the next 2, both Eagle victories, there were contributions across the board. Most notably, Laurencia Miller, who really came into her own, especially down the stretch in both games. In the first win against Villa, she shows up in the fourth quarter. She helps them out to a huge run to start the frame, and Villa never really had a chance to get back in it after that. And this, the tie-breaking victory, she comes up with a huge 3-point play with 48 seconds to go, giving the Eagles the lead for good. And then it was Paulicki, of course, burying basically every free throw down the stretch at the end to give them the win.
And I think it should be noted, by the way, that barring an upset, that these two teams, Villa and St. Peter's, could very well be facing each other again on Friday, March 7th in the Archdiocesan semifinals. Jamie, if Notre Dame Academy upsets Villa on Saturday, that would actually nullify the chance of those two teams playing. But if Villa wins, they beat them the first 2 times. We're going to have a 4th and final meeting this year. My feelings are concerning St. Peter's is that I think they've grown, as I said, with a lot of confidence with the younger kids and stuff like that. And I think they're going to stay with the same formula. I think they're going to focus on trying to stop Nicole Capurso. Obviously, easier said than done. And they're going to try to force St. John Villa into making somebody else beat them, just like Laharovic did in the first game.
I also think it's important to note that in the first 3 meetings, Capurso has gotten off to extremely hot starts and has kind of cooled down the stretch after wear and tear from all of the Eagle pressure. Somebody else needs to step up on this team down the stretch. In the fourth quarter, they need someone else to be able to put the ball in the basket, whether it's Teresa Jackson-Henderson, Shapresa Laharovic, or Joy Mercado. Personally, I think Mercado is the key to the entire situation because Laharovic as a slasher and Jackson-Henderson as a post player can only do so much. But if Mercado can take some of the pressure off of Nicole Capurso on the outside, hitting a 3 here or a long jumper there, it's going to really open things up for Villa. And if they're going to beat St. Peter's this time around, they're going to need to do that.
St. Peter's has a bye going to that semifinal game. Now, should they beat Villa or Notre Dame Academy, the winner of that game next Friday night will have their hands full when they play St. Michael's Academy of Manhattan in the AA championship at St. Raymond's on Sunday, March 9th. And Jamie, I think it should also be noted that the B playoffs this year has 3 Staten Island representatives, St. Joseph Hill, St. Joseph by the Sea, and Moore Catholic. Those playoffs kick off on Sunday when Moore Catholic visits St. Joseph Hill and St. Joseph by the Sea visits either Cardinal Spellman or Maria Regina Jamie, do you see one of the island teams making a shot to run into the Archdiocesan B championship this year?
Well, in terms of momentum, I'd probably say that Moore Catholic has the best chance. Even though they might not have a great overall record, they've been hot lately. They have 2 weeks off right now, and I think the layoff actually does them good, gives them a chance to catch their breath before the next step. Hill's been in a bit of a swoon as of late, and even though they've won both games against Moore so far, I don't think that history is going to repeat itself here. I think Moore could be able to give them a run unless the Hill interior players, Morgan Mazzarella and Jen Delahanty, step up in a big way, because I think Taylor Baggs and the rest of the Moore offense provides a little too much versatility for the Hilltoppers. In terms of C, they're going to need Katie Edwards to really contribute. She's been their most consistent offensive player, and defensive player for that matter, the entire season, and if she comes through in a big way for them, I don't see any reason why they couldn't upset their first-round opponents.
That's all this week for Talkin Sports. I'm Charlie DeBiase. This is Jamie Lee.
And remember, for all your extensive high school girls basketball playoff coverage, you can check out the web at highschoolsports.silive.com.